Welcome back to the deep dive. We're going to be exploring this really interesting debate about AI and what it could mean for the future.
Yeah, and it's like all based on this episode of AI debates that we both listened to, which was like super thought-provoking. I mean, they really brought up
Yeah,
some
yeah, I totally.
like big questions.
Yeah, like should we be worried about AI? Should we be super excited about it? It's like this whole spectrum of emotions.
Yeah, it's like hope and fear all mixed together, which I think is like where a lot of us are right now, right? It's
Yeah.
like we see the potential, but we also see the risks.
Yeah, for sure. So I think a good place to start unpacking this whole thing is with the ethical side of AI. Like, how do we make sure that we're using this technology responsibly?
Well, the AI debates episode actually jumps right into that with this discussion about new regulations that are being proposed in Europe.
Oh, right, the ones that are all about data privacy and making sure that algorithms are transparent.
Exactly. So it's like they're trying to find this balance between like protecting people's rights, but also, not stifling innovation.
And that's such a tough line to walk.
Oh, absolutely. And the debate really gets into that tension like right away. There's this ethics expert, Dr. Helen Park, and she basically warns that if we don't have the right, governance in place, like AI could really get away from
Like
us.
it could go rogue almost.
Yeah, sort of. She even like makes this comparison to, nuclear technology. Like we figured out how to like split the atom before we really understood what it meant.
And she's saying we're doing the same thing with AI.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
kind of rushing ahead without really thinking about the long-term consequences.
Okay, so that's a pretty sobering perspective.
Yeah, definitely. But then on the other side of the debate, you have this tech entrepreneur, Leo Silva, and he's like totally against over-regulating AI. He thinks it'll like kill innovation,
Yeah.
like prevent us from realizing all the good stuff that AI could do.
So less rules, more ethical guidelines. Is that kind of his take?
Yeah, exactly. He's more about like fostering responsible AI development, but not like putting it in a straitjacket.
I see. So it's one side is saying be careful, and the other side is like let's go, full speed ahead.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like this isn't just happening in like academic circles. It's like this whole debate is playing out on social media too. Like
Yeah.
if you look at the hashtag AI ethics hashtag, it's wild. There are so many different opinions out there.
Which kind of shows you like how global this conversation is, right? It's not just a few people in a room arguing about this.
Totally. And I think what's really interesting about it is that it's like forcing us to confront our own values,
Yeah.
Like what do we prioritize? What kind of future do we want to build with AI?
Yeah, it's not just about the technology itself. It's about who we are as humans.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and speaking of humans, one of the big, anxieties that a lot of people have about AI is its impact on jobs.
Right.
Are the robots going to take over?
Oh, yeah. That's like the $1 million question, isn't it? And the AI debates episode like doesn't shy away from that at all.
Really?
Yeah, they actually start that whole segment with this like pretty intense piece of news. So apparently this major tech company announced that they're going to automate like half of their workforce.
Whoa, 50%.
Yeah, like they're going to use AI to do all these tasks that like humans used to do.
So AI job apocalypse, here we come.
Well, some people definitely think so, but the debate also presents like some other perspectives, which is, what makes it so interesting.
Okay, like what?
Well, there's this economist, Dr. Mia Lin, and she brings in this like historical context, which I thought was really interesting.
Like what?
Well, she basically argues that like every time there's a big technological advancement, it disrupts the job market, right? But it also creates new jobs.
Oh yeah, think about the Industrial Revolution, right? I mean that was probably pretty scary at the time.
Totally. And her point is that like the Industrial Revolution actually led to a much higher standard of living for most people.
So she's saying we should be focusing on adapting to AI rather than being afraid of it.
Exactly. Like we need to invest in education and retraining so that people have the skills they need to succeed in this new, AI-powered workforce.
Okay, so that's a pretty optimistic view.
Yeah, it is. But, let's be real, like not everyone can just like switch careers that easily. And that's where the concerns of this union leader, Jack Thompson, come in.
Oh, okay. What does he have to say?
Well, he basically argues that, like, we can't just assume that everyone's going to benefit from this, technological shift.
Right.
He's worried about the people who are going to lose their jobs, like, right away,
Yeah.
especially people in those, like, vulnerable sectors that, might not have a lot of support.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, without the right support systems in place, we could end up creating this whole, like, new underclass of unemployed people.
Okay, so that's like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. And it's a reminder that, like, this isn't just some theoretical debate, you
Yeah.
know. This stuff has real world consequences for people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like playing out on mine too. I've seen that hashtag AI jobs hashtag popping up everywhere.
Oh yeah. That one's pretty intense too. You see a lot of fear there, but also some hope, which is interesting.
Yeah, like I think it reflects the mixed emotions that people are feeling, right? It's like this, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Mm.
But also this, maybe this could be good kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like you have Dr. Lin who's, giving us this hopeful vision, but then you have Mr. Thompson who's reminding us that we can't be like naive about the potential downsides.
Right. It's both.
Yeah. So I guess the big question is like, how do we make sure that AI benefits everyone? How do we navigate this like incredibly powerful technology in a way that actually makes the world a better place?
It's a huge challenge, and that's actually a perfect segue into the next topic we want to talk about, which is AI safety? Like,
Yeah.
are we doing enough to ensure that these systems are
Right,
safe?
because it's not just about jobs, it's about like everything, right? Like AI is getting into like healthcare, transportation, like every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, and that's why this part of the AI debates episode is, like, especially timely.
Why?
Well, because, like, just recently there was this pretty major AI system failure.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it caused, like, a lot of
Like
problems.
what?
Well, it was this AI system that was being used in a medical diagnosis application.
Oh, wow. And it ended up like making a bunch of misdiagnoses.
Yikes. Okay, so that's like a pretty serious example of what can go wrong.
Yeah, it was a big wake-up call for a lot of people. It basically shows that even with all the safeguards we have in place, like AI systems can still make mistakes.
Yeah. And those mistakes can have, like, real world consequences.
Exactly. And so, the debate brings in two experts who have like very different views on this whole AI safety issue.
Okay, who are they?
So on the one hand, you have Dr. Alan Green, who's an AI safety researcher, and he's actually like pretty confident that safety protocols are evolving, alongside AI development.
So, like, as AI gets more sophisticated, the safety measures are also getting better.
Right. He says that we're like constantly learning from our mistakes.
Right.
Like every time something like, that medical diagnosis thing happens, it provides us with more data that we can use to like improve things.
I see. So it's like with airplanes, right? Like, back in the early days, plane crashes were pretty common. Oh, yeah, that's a good analogy.
But like every time a plane crash, they learn more about like aerodynamics and like how to make planes safer.
Exactly. And so now air travel is, like, one of the safest forms of transportation.
So he's saying that we're on a similar path with AI.
Yeah, pretty much. He thinks that, like, there will be bumps along the way, but we're moving towards safer and more reliable AI systems.
Okay, so that's like reassuring, I guess.
Yeah. But then you have this cybersecurity analyst, Sarah Vega, and she's a lot more cautious.
Okay.
She basically argues that, like, AI is developing way faster than we can implement, like, effective safety checks.
Oh, wow.
Like, she's really worried about the lack of transparency in some of this AI development.
Like we don't even know how these systems are making decisions sometimes.
Right. And if we don't know how they're working, it's, like, way harder to predict or prevent, like, potential failures.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what does she like propose we do about it?
Well, she's kind of calling for a pause and reassess, like, let's slow down a bit, especially when it comes to using AI in, like, really critical applications.
Like healthcare, transportation, that kind of thing.
Exactly. She thinks that, like, we should prioritize rigorous testing, and independent auditing of these AI systems.
Well, like a more cautious approach.
Yeah. She thinks that, like, if we're more careful now, we could avoid some, like, potentially really bad consequences later on.
Okay, so that's a pretty strong argument.
Yeah, it is. And it's, like, gaining a lot of traction online too. You see a lot of people talking about hashtag AI safety and calling for, more transparency and accountability in AI development.
So it's like a grassroots movement.
Yeah. It really is, and it's growing fast as people become more aware of the risks.
Okay, so it's like we have these two very different perspectives, right? Like one side is saying, hey, it's getting better, we're figuring it out. And the other side is like, whoa, 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 slow down, this is moving too fast.
Right. And I think it comes down to this question of like, how much risk are we comfortable with? Like what level of risk are we willing to accept when it comes to AI?
Yeah, because it's not like we can eliminate risk altogether,
No,
right?
of course not. But we need to be having these conversations, We
Yeah.
need to be thinking about these trade-offs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a great place to like pause for a moment.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground here in part one of our deep dive into these AI debates,
Yeah, we have.
but there's still so much more to explore,
Right. Like next time we're going to dive into this wild concept of AI potentially helping us become a type 1 civilization.
which is a whole other can of worms.
Oh yeah, get ready for that one.
So yeah, stay tuned for part two.
Welcome back to the deep dive. As we keep like digging into this AI debate, it really hits you that this isn't just about the cool tech stuff, it's about us, like humans and how we fit in with all this.
Totally. And the debate, it really makes that point clear. Like each topic, whether it's like ethics, jobs, or even safety,
Yeah.
it all comes down to how much power we're willing to give to AI.
Exactly. And how can we make sure AI gets us, our values, like what we think is right? It's easy to get caught up in the hype of like, wow, cool robots, but AI is just a tool, right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or, not so good.
That's why this whole ethics thing is so huge, right? It's not some
Moral.
boring philosophy lecture. It's about setting the rules of the game so AI doesn't go off track, like thinking ahead so we don't end up with some, AI mess later on.
And those consequences could be crazy big, affecting everything from our privacy to like how we connect with each other. Take AI bias, for example. If an AI learns from bad data, it'll just spit out more bad stuff, and that could lead to things being unfair or like discriminatory.
Yeah, like that saying garbage in, garbage out, right? If we feed AI junk, we'll get junk results. And that's scary when you think about things like hiring loans or even like the justice system.
Exactly. We need a variety of people, different backgrounds involved in making AI. We got to make sure these systems are designed fairly and represent everyone, inclusion.
Reminds us that technology isn't neutral. It reflects who made it. So if we want AI to be a force for good, we have to be mindful of what values we build into these systems.
Let's circle back to jobs for a second. Remember how we talked about jobs disappearing and new ones popping up? That's the core of this whole debate.
Yeah, it's not just the quantity, it's the kind of jobs, right? Like when AI takes over the boring stuff, the skills that'll be in demand are things robots can't do, being creative, thinking critically, and like understanding emotions, those human things.
Dr. Lin, the economist, thinks this shift could be a good thing. Like AI could take over the boring work so we can focus on stuff that makes us feel good, meaningful work.
That's an interesting way to think about it. Like, what if AI did all the data entry and scheduling and we focused on innovation, solving problems, and building relationships?
Sounds kind of like a utopia, right? But there are things to think about. Like, what if the people who get these new, high paying AI jobs make a ton of money and the people who don't get those jobs fall behind? We could end up with a much bigger gap between the rich and poor.
Which takes us back to education and retraining, right? We need to make sure everyone has the chance to learn those new skills they'll need to be successful in this new world. It's not just on individuals, it's on everyone, governments, schools, and companies to make this happen.
We all got to step up and figure out how to create a future where everyone benefits from AI, not just a few lucky ones.
Before we finish up, I got to talk about one of the coolest ideas from the debate, a Type 1 civilization.
Now we're going to the future. Just a reminder, a Type 1 civilization is one that can use all the energy on their planet. It's this idea from this astrophysicist, Nikolai Kardashev, to measure how advanced a civilization is.
Sounds like Star Trek kind of stuff, right? But get this, some experts think AI could help us do it.
The idea is that AI could manage, like, the entire planet's resources way better than we could, like, perfectly. Imagine AI controlling energy grids, transportation, food production, all to stop waste and be totally sustainable.
That's like a world where technology solves our biggest problems, like climate change, not enough resources, poverty, the whole shebang. Dr. Omar Patel, this environmental scientist in the debate, was super excited about this idea.
Dr. Patel thinks AI could be like the ultimate Earth caretaker. He says we've already changed the planet so much that we need AI to help manage all the interconnected, systems and stuff.
He even said that AI could be the thing that saves us, like literal. It's a bold thing to say, but it makes you think. What if using AI for good could create a future where humans and technology live together, you know, peacefully?
It's a hopeful vision, but it also makes you wonder about, the ethics of it all. Dr. Elise Dubois, this philosopher in the debate, says we shouldn't put all our faith in technology. She says even if we have good intentions, there's always a chance AI could be used for bad things.
Yeah, her worry is that while we're busy trying to be super advanced, we might accidentally build systems that, like, control us and take away our freedom. It's
Yeah.
like that classic sci-fi story, right?
Mm.
The nice AI that turns evil and takes over.
It's a reminder that while we're exploring the good stuff about AI, we got to be careful about the risks too. We need to develop AI in a way that matches our values and ultimately helps humans.
It's a tough balance, right? We've got this amazing chance to fix some of the world's biggest problems, but we also got to be responsible and make sure we're using this technology the right way.
It's a challenge that'll take a lot of thinking, talking, and being willing to change as we learn more about AI.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It's amazing, wrapping up this exploration of the AI debates, how much we've actually talked about. Ethics, jobs, even what makes a civilization. Wow, what a journey.
I know, right? It's kind of crazy how this one AI debates episode got us thinking about so many things. It really shows you how AI is woven into everything we do.
And it's not even just about the tech itself. It's about, what does it mean to be human when we have all these smart machines around,
Definitely. These debates make us think about the big stuff, our values, what we care about, and what we want the future to look like. Like, what kind of world are we making with AI? How do we make sure it's good for everybody, not just a few people?
Big questions, right? And there's no easy answers, that's for sure.
Mm.
But just talking about it, that's a good sign, I think. It means we're starting to understand how complicated AI is and what it could do to the world.
Yeah, and it shows that we need to listen to everyone, not just the tech people, but the ethicists, the economists, the folks who study society, the people making policies, and regular people like us.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just a few experts who decide the future of AI. We're all making choices, doing things, having these conversations that are shaping where it goes.
This AI debates episode, it's like one piece of a big puzzle. It
Mhm.
shows us where the conversation is at right now, but it needs to keep going, keep changing, keep getting bigger.
And that's where you come in, dear listeners. We want to know what you think about all this. What sticks with you? What worries you? What do you hope for with AI?
Tell us what you think, join the conversation, and let's build a future where AI helps us make a world that's fair, where everyone's treated right, and where we take care of our planet.
So to wrap up our deep dive into the AI debates, here's a question to think about. What role do you see yourself playing in this whole story of AI and humanity?
How will you add your voice? How will you help make sure AI is used for good? We all have a part to play in shaping the future, so let's do it right.
Thanks for joining us on this AI adventure. We hope it got you curious and made you want to learn more.
And don't forget to catch the next deep dive episode where we'll take another deep dive into something amazing, finding hidden connections and exploring new frontiers of knowledge.
Until then, stay curious and keep those brains buzzing.